You go. So we are joined for our final guest of the 2025-2026 school year. Such a great way to end our semester. Once again, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, my friend and friend of the class, Christa Johnson. We thank you so much for taking this time for us to end our semester. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson. This is our college career readiness class. We are in the STEM career cluster. And we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools: Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Germantown High School, Ridgeland High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you once again for closing out our semester.
Well, hello, Greg. It's always a pleasure. And to close it out, I think this is what my second year of doing that, of doing a
Third.
closeout. Third closeout. This is my third closeout. So I don't know if we're gonna say save the best for last or the most fun, but regardless of the situation, it is an honor to always do this and support you guys and just, you guys have no idea how much you support me at the same time as me giving the mentorship and the ideas, and we grow together. And
Absolutely.
we've been doing this since the beginning,
Yeah,
the
you were
very beginning.
one of our first after COVID, so it's been such a joy. Now, obviously, we want to get into your new position, which is so dang cool out there in Nevada. You've worked in so many cool engineering areas, but I just think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about your background, because the way you are connected to Mississippi is unbelievable. Because
Yes.
you went to originally from Chicago, went to the
Yes.
same high school as all of our friends, Coach Kelly Martin, who's at another school now, but still a huge part of our community. And then you were at Jackson State,
Woo!
and
Real Tigers.
your aunt lives down the street from me now. So it is
Yes.
just crazy all the connection you have to Mississippi.
Yes, yes. Mississippi is literally another part of home for me. So I used to come down there as a kid just randomly because my mom would just say, look, we're taking a road trip and we're going straight from Chicago down to Mississippi, spend a few days. And it's always been the best time. And my aunt is a very, very big part of that too, because she taught me some of my home skills as far as just techniques in cooking, techniques in family. I got to be a kid and it was enjoyable. And then also I carried a lot of those, as they like to call it, Southern hospitality traits back to Chicago. And, it was just a great environment to have both aspects around the city and a little bit of the South and country living. So a lot of people still think that I'm originally from Mississippi. I'm like, no, I'm a Chicago girl, but I am literally a Mississippi Jackson girl to the core. And my aunt went to Jackson State, so Jackson State is always a family school for us, and it's always something that is near and dear to my heart. So as soon as I get a chance to come back, like I'm coming to Velma Jackson first. Like so everybody knows nobody has an exception to see me first besides you guys.
Love it. Now, you're out there with Switch, working at
Yeah.
the core in Vegas, and we've seen the videos of it. But you've always been interested in this type of stuff, because so many girls are like, "Well, that's just boy stuff." Well, you were into that stuff as a child. So tell us how you got into kind of the engineering space.
So I got into the engineering space as a kid because of my dad, actually. He set me in front of a computer at probably like 2 or 3 years old. And I just fell in love. And as a kid, I used to tear things apart. And my mom would look at me, and as long as I put it back together, I never got in trouble. So I put it back together. It worked. We were good. And high school just carried it on. So the cool thing about being in Chicago and going to a vocational high school more than anything is the simple fact that I actually was able to go to a vocational school where I was able to hone in on my skill in engineering from the beginning. I was able to pull apart computers. I was able to put them back together. I learned the aspects of everything technology from Chicago Vocational Career Academy. It's Career Academy now, but we went to Chicago Vocational High School. And I can say a lot of us who took a lot of those majors, we stuck to the plan.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing how teachers like you invest in students. And especially when you're in a vocational setting like that, you really get to invest in what you want to do. I have friends who own salons because they took cosmetology in high school. I walked out with all types of certifications in high school. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just about having the college credits, it's about having some of the certifications and the next steps to move forward in the field specifically instead of just general credits, because then now you've really invested in yourself. And going into a school like that and dealing with those things actually helped me a lot more to determine, okay, this is really where I want to be. And it's exciting and it's fun. It's never ending and it's always evolving. And that's the one thing about engineering and technology I genuinely love. Like I tried to step away and it brought me right back every
Yeah,
time.
and the cool thing is we even though uh, it's not actually at Velma Jackson, all of our students have the ability to get those engineering certifications at our engineering and robotics program at our career
Awesome.
center just down the road. So that is something available to our students, and I'd love to take you by there as well. My friend Willie Bates does a great job down there at our career center.
Well, of course.
But and the cool part is you mentioned the certifications. And you said you went to Jackson State, but you've made it no secret you did not graduate. So, everybody's path is different, but there is such, STEM is unlike so many other fields. You can be
Right.
very lucrative employee, very skilled without necessarily going the traditional college route. You deal with a lot of military trained people. You deal with a
Hmm.
lot of associates and certification trained people, a lot of trades. And then, like yourself, you not only have the certifications, you spent time getting experience. Like you always speak about your Best Buy experience working in the retail world, not only gave you engineering experience, but it gave you the customer service skills that are needed.
Yeah. I mean, I literally started off in college because I came back. And like we said, I didn't finish at Jackson State. I, I had a certification, I had, an associate's, but then also I kept my word. I was going to finish school at the time. And while I was in school, I was in Best Buy. And like you said, I learned a lot of the engineering styles and the engineering techniques, and not just from a computer aspect, but just from an electronics aspect as a whole. Also, and this is going to age me a little, I was one of the original geeks in Geek Squad. So I got to drive around in the Beetle, wear the cute little outfits and all that other stuff. But it was fun because not only did I have the customer service skills and the technical skills, but I was actually able to bring that home to people and to educate people. And that's the one thing that drives me even more is the fact that I'm able to show people what I'm able to do, but also make it easy for them to do it as well. And a lot of people are scared of technology in so many different aspects. And when you put a human aspect to it, it makes it a lot easier. Just like after I left Best Buy, I went to Sprint, as you know, because we both did. And I was an in store technician, and I was one of the first female technicians in the state of Illinois to run her own service center. And I did strict service. I trained people to work in the service industry, in the repairs. We had some of the best numbers in repairs. Also, we dealt with multiple departments and multiple customers. You never know who you're going to meet. I mean, owners from car dealerships, airlines, they would just drop off a ton of phones and say, "Here, we need these fixed." And that's what you're supposed to do. But also, you're helping so many different people. Nobody understands the importance of their phone then, let alone now, that it does everything for you without you having to blink it out. And when you have somebody that's there to do it, it's amazing. And then afterwards, I went to Walgreens and I was at headquarters teaching CEOs how to use their phones, like just little things like that. And, working on the Google Pay apps in the store, building those up. So things that we do now as far as tap, I was in the beginning stages of those in those Walgreens locations throughout Illinois. And afterwards, I went to Verizon and was in customer service and tech support and moved right into my dream of being a network engineer. So
Yeah,
it's been a good transition.
and you mentioned about how people take things for granted. You had a huge hand, and this is such a great resume builder for you. You had a huge hand after the hurricane that came through Houston to help rebuild that network. And you said you looked around and said, "Hey, I don't see any other females." And I
Exactly.
love the pictures of you wearing the hard hat. You're like, "Look, I'm a girl wearing a hard hat." And but that's all about representation. And we have so many a lot in our district. We have a lot of first generation Americans. We have a lot of English language learners. Obviously, I've got a room full of very intelligent black kids in here with me, but there's a space for everybody.
It
And it was such
is.
a proud moment for you to say, my parents would be so proud. There's no other women here. And you really made a name for yourself to help move up within the field. So talk about that experience because first of all, people we didn't realize how important network engineers are. But then you got to say, hey, I'm one of the only ones that have a place here.
Yeah. And it was, honestly, it was a good challenge for me. Um, I've always been probably one of the few, but to be the only was really scary at first. And when the hurricanes hit in Louisiana, I coincidentally was heading to Georgia. And after the hurricanes kind of subsided, I actually drove through Louisiana and I made sure that, my hard hat was on. Even though I was on vacation, I was on. The one thing that Verizon takes pride in at the time, especially with the network, is the fact that we run to danger. We run to chaos. We run to that because we have to bring it down. And people don't realize we had Colts and what they call cows, which is cell on wheels. These are literally cellular towers on wheels
Yeah.
that my responsibility was to make sure that was up and running every single time when a disaster struck. Not only when the carnival hits, the rodeo hits in Houston, or it's a big event. The biggest events are the disasters when people need it most and need that service most. And it wasn't just restricted to Verizon customers. We made sure in the area, everybody was able to contact their loved ones. Everybody was able to communicate and say, hey, I'm safe. No, I'm not okay. This is what I need. And also you bring that humanity piece as literally the only female in the group. And it taught others to not just be so technical, but to be human in the process because everybody goes through something. And to the aspect of the repairs, I used to tell everybody, look, don't let the manicures fool you. I can literally pull things apart. I'm still repairing circuits. I'm still breaking down networks. I'm still making sure circuits are up. And you wouldn't blink an eye. And that's what I take pride in is the fact that I'm not only able to be a motivator to other kids or other people of color, but I'm able to be a motivator to other women because it really was some before me, but not many. Like, for instance, two of my biggest heroes, Dr. Johnson from NASA and Dr. Macy Johnson from NASA. And those are literally two women that I have always looked up to in in this field of technology, but not only that, the field of life, because they broke glass ceilings that no one could ever imagine. You know, you have Dr. Krista McAuliffe. Like, these are the few women in the world that was able to just at least tap that glass ceiling. So even if I make a crack in that field to do so, it's to motivate others, not just women, but you know, people of all colors, all backgrounds, to believe that they are able to do this and they're able to set that engineer, mindset into play, but also realize that they're doing something bigger than just plugging up something and making it work. You're actually building the world in a way.
Yeah, just a quick reference because I know our kids are too young to remember, but Katherine Johnson, the late Katherine Johnson, the movie Hidden Figures is about her, played by I'm a huge fan of Taraji Henson, played by Taraji Henson, was a rocket scientist, the black female rocket scientist that we landed Apollo 11 because of her. She had such a huge hand
Exactly.
in that. Dr. Mae Jemison, the first black woman to ever go into space, and then Krista McAuliffe, the science teacher who tragically lost her life in the Challenger disaster in 1986. So three huge leaders in the world of STEM there that really, like you said, they didn't just tap it, they broke through it. And a lot of technological advances happened because of the work they did. Now,
Exactly.
your time at Verizon led you to work in other areas of telecommunications. You worked with the fiber optics, you worked with the push to talk. So there are a lot of other areas that you can use these skills and advance in. And like you said, people are always got to communicate. People have to do business. The government depends on communication. Emergency services are huge. Hospitals have to communicate. Police have to communicate. So there's a lot of areas of telecommunications people may not realize.
Yeah, I mean, and no offense, it's not just the TikTok and Instagram and video world. Like it, yes, it is a wonderful way for us to communicate, but the base of communication is talking. The base of communication is texting. The base of communication is reaching out from one end to the next. And because I have had so much background in the fiber optics, side, in the circuit building, in the network from the bottom up. Even I admit, one of my least favorite is actually building the actual formulas. But it was an honor leading up to that because 2 years ago, I was in Vienna, Austria for 3 weeks, almost a month, working with a company based there doing what was a program called LifeX, which was a life-saving program. So it's not, like I said, and like we've said before, it's not just about, videos and, talking, but these are life-saving tools. And with LifeX, I actually was building the network to alert 911 centers and emergency response partners if there was an emergency, and say for instance a construction worker is somewhere and the address is not listed yet and nobody knows. But if you ever look at TV shows or certain, movies where they pull out the blueprints because these buildings are so new, well, LifeX was actually physically locating that person. Or if you're in a concert and somebody faints, it's hot, you
Yeah.
know, you can physically locate that person without having to run through crowds and everything else. But that's all through your telephone. That's all through your radio. That's all through anything that has an antenna internally or externally to communicate to keep you safe. And I even worked on devices in cars. So when Bluetooth was first coming out, when the pushed buttons for the remote starts for roadside assistance, I actually was in the process working with a lot of dealerships when I was at Sprint to make sure that partnership worked and make sure that they customers were connected, not only their devices to their phone, I mean to their cars, but if something was to be, an emergency, they were able to reach out to that roadside assistance and to that 911 operator, and their vehicle would be able to locate them then. And let alone now, it's awesome. It's awesome for me to be able to be a part of that. And now working at Switch in the core, even better because I deal with those types of things from all around the world, just sitting right there in my office in Vegas. So
Now, and that's a great segue because like I said, we looked at some of the videos of the core. That's the most impressive data center I believe I've ever seen. We have a couple we're building here in the area for Amazon, and yeah, they're impressive, but the core is on a whole different level. They're run by Switch, and
yes.
look, like we said, you work with a variety of skilled people that are working in the AI space. I'm sure you work with the engineers that have degrees from Caltech and Southern Cal and everything over there on the West Coast. But you're dealing with the people, the trade people. You guys are
Mhm.
dealing with people that have IT certifications, that have, I'm sure you got some HVAC and welders and
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
Yeah, and you got people that were trained in the military. So it is a variety of skills that go into these things. And for those that maybe don't know, talk about what these places do because you hear them, all the people wanting them, all the people against them, but talk about why they are so needed and how they help increase business and why it's these careers in it are not going anywhere.
Well, these careers honestly aren't going anywhere because of the simple fact we all communicate and we all need our technology in order for us to communicate. And with technology expanding so much, it's it's never ending. And from like we said before, the HVAC crew has to keep all of that technology in that core cool, because if something gets overheated or blows up, it's a ripple effect of damage. You know,
And it's
like we sweat
millions of dollars.
and billions of dollars. Like we sweat, technology sweats. And when that sweats, it's more expensive than us going to get a glass of water. It's countless hours, countless labor, countless time, tools, and then also you're shutting down a network and you're stopping service for someone who could desperately need it at that moment. I mean, I'm even dealing with have fiber optics and pipelines under sea level, you know? So these are things that in the core and also in our other locations, because we have 6 locations
Yeah,
so far. Six.
Dallas, and then there's one in rural Utah, and then the one there in Vegas.
Yeah, so we've got Reno, we've got
Yeah,
Michigan.
repair about Reno. Yeah,
Yeah, we've got Reno, Michigan, Vegas, Atlanta, Austin, and
Austin.
the yeah. And the last one is Houston. Actually, it's a little spot in Houston. Um yep, just a little one.
Yeah.
But also it was a great transition to come here to be at the core in headquarters, because you've got to learn so many different aspects of it, from the OSHA standpoint, to making sure that you know how to engage if there is an emergency with the department and within the product. Also, you have to make sure that you're aware of all types of fire safety training,
Oh, big time.
hazmat, things like that. And even with security, it's a lot of privacy to that. And this is why it's a never ending business, because it's so many things evolving. It's so many things changing. Like AI is coming, AI is here. And with it being here, we've got a lot of work to do. And technology is the base of AI. Technology is the base of communications. Technology is the base of entertainment now, because I am in the entertainment capital of the world. And for me to have a part in powering up Las Vegas and the world is an honor. Just by doing what I do in the office, just by building my formulas, just by talking to someone when their circuits are down, or working with another vendor when their circuit has to be rebuilt or physically has to be changed, or the fiber crew, or anybody, because there's so many different aspects right now, and it's amazing. Everybody plays an intricate part. You never know what position you can actually take, and it's connected to technology.
Yeah, because you mentioned, Las Vegas, the most visited city in the United States. Your hotel reservation is managed through those systems. Your
Yep.
rental car that you have is managed through those systems. Your tickets that you have on the app on your phone is managed through those systems. So it really is a lot. Oh, the traffic lights. I mean, all that stuff is managed through the
Everything.
system. So we see the show, but there's a lot of skilled people behind the scenes that make a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's not just making a lot of money, it's making a difference.
Absolutely.
And I have friends in so many different industries that we branch off of, and we just brainstorm, and it all leads back almost to where I started. And it's the coolest thing, and I take pride in that. And that's the one thing a lot of people don't realize is, if you don't take pride in what you do, the passion is not there. The effort is not there. You
Love it.
don't see it. And when you don't physically see the impact that you make, you can lose that drive for a moment.
Love it.
And I enjoy what riding through the streets, or riding through the road here and looking at the mountains, and then the next step I see a cell tower that I know I helped set up, or I see the traffic lights that I know that I'm putting together. Here in Las Vegas, it's nothing but gaming and gambling. Or it's a lot of other things too. But we power a lot of these, opportunities and places of fun where people get to just live and have a vacation. We're working 24/7 nonstop, but it's enjoyable work because when we see that light turn on, we know we did our job.
Love it. Well, I do have some questions here, and these are good. This first one is Terkala Chambers. She's in 10th grade, one of our volleyball players here. And she asks, how has your workflow and work responsibilities changed since you started heavily using AI?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, since I've started heavily using I try not to let it change so much because at the end of the day, technology will go up, technology will go down. So, at the end of the day, I have to depend on myself first. And I use AI more so as a backup tool than a primary tool because I firmly believe, as great as AI is, just like technology, we can become dependent upon it. So the one thing that you have to do is be determined to not have a full dependency upon AI, just like you don't have a full dependency on any type of technology. You know, the only thing that's technical that you need is your brain. And if you know how to rewire and disconnect and reconnect, you've got it. AI is really going to be a great backup, but the trick is you cannot make it dependable for yourself to where you are disabling yourself when you need it.
Love it. This is Josh Williamson. He's in 9th grade. He's injured right now, but he's still got a good question. Um, uh, you obviously, and he plays football and baseball, but he asked,
Awesome.
obviously love your job, but is there any task in your job that you don't exactly like?
Formula building. Formula building. I do not like sitting in front of a computer
Oh,
and constantly building configurations. And then the mathematicals go in, and it's like your brain gets a little scrambled, and then you have to take a break. So it's a lot of times that I just have to step back from the screen and say, you know what? I need to take a break. And it consumes you, especially when there's one number off or there's
oh,
one piece in that build that's not together all the way. So honestly, it's got to be the building part as far as like, you know, the schematics. I love drawing. I love, you know, doing my graphs and things like that. But once you have to physically sit in front of a computer and start putting those formulas in and configs, I'm not a fan. But I know it's got to get done.
yeah, and that's funny because engineers never get it right the first time, and that's what I always try to convey to kids is that they get so frustrated. Oh, this is too hard. I quit. Well, there's a lot of people that add a lot of trial and error to get things right, and it is frustrating, but it's also rewarding at the end. This is Javarius Morrison. He's in 9th grade, member of our band, plays baseball, football, and he asked, "What advice would you give someone who wanted to get into this field?"
Determination. Just have the determination and the passion to want to learn more because you every day is an opportunity for learning in this field. So you're never done. Just like we said just a second ago, you are never done. You never get it right the first time. So there's a never ending, you know, game plan here in fixing or repairing or building from scratch. So you have to be determined to know that everything is going to change and it can change in a heartbeat and it can change in a second. But also, you have to be determined to learn about that change, grow with that change, and move forward with that change, and then be a part of it more than anything.
Love it. All right, I got time for two more. This is
Gotcha.
Jeremiah O'Leary. He's in 9th grade, also plays baseball. And he asked, are any 2 days the same as a network engineer?
Never, never. One minute you could be high in the sky on the top of a tower or on the top of a building. The next second, I could be in Houston building the 5G network for NRG Park and making sure that the Houston Texans and the NFL has service during game season. You know, you could be sub sea level. I have a lot of the engineers that have scuba diving history because they have to go underwater to go through those pipelines and make sure that technology is working because it's not always in the air, as you can see. You don't see cables running around, you don't see that stuff. So it's never ending changes. It's
Yeah, and
so
I'm
many
glad you
different
mentioned that
pieces.
because when you see D'Amico Ryans with the headset on Sunday with the Houston Texans, there was a network engineer that had to make sure that was working correctly. Because again,
We
you're
sure
talking about
did.
a lot of money, especially in the NFL, so much money at stake. If that goes
We
down,
sure
it is
did.
somebody's getting fired.
Yes, yes. I actually was part of that rollout. So I was a part of the rollout when Verizon started 5G in Houston and built the network there. I built the network in the Toyota Center for the Houston Rockets. I built it in what was Minute Maid Park for the Astros. So a lot of these, big businesses that, like I said, we take for granted because our cell phones work there. I had to make sure that they worked before you guys walked in the door. So
That's
it's
awesome.
never ending. It's never ending. Even when you're in an office setting or city hall or a fire department, police department, school, same way. So the way of the world is through technology.
All right, I got one more. This is Caitlin Bill. She's in ninth grade. She will be one of our cheerleaders here next year at Velma Jackson. And she asked,
Awesome.
"What are some skills that you've learned are important that you did not realize were important once you got into this field?"
Customer service.
There you go. There you go.
Customer service because in technology, a lot of people don't realize we become very robotic
Yep.
and it's very, cut and dry in a lot of ways. But I bring a human aspect that a lot of people don't have. And it's enlightening to some, it may be fearful to others, but then also some people take it as a breath of fresh air because you're relatable. And when you can bring that service and human skill, that regular life skill of being a good person into a field of technology where everybody is straight laced and robotic, it's a world of difference. A lot of people a lot of people compliment me on the fact that I can be relatable to someone who has never picked up a phone before, or who
Yep.
has never worked a circuit, or who has all the experience in the world, but they don't know how to explain it. And when you have that skill, it is you keep that one. That you keep that for yourself, but you also teach others how to have a sense of service in within yourself and within others and knowing that you're making a difference by doing both.
Love it. And I'm so glad you mentioned that. But we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much as always for joining us. But a couple things before we go. Everybody needs to go to switch.com and check out those data centers. It is just unbelievable the magnitude and size of those things. It is just and then if nothing else, if kids are interested in that field, that is a great place to shoot for. They're going to be building more stuff, going to have some more positions. So get those certifications. Look to the programs. Companies like that love to partner with certain schools and certification programs to say, "Hey, send us your best students." It
Yeah,
is
and internships all around. So just to start to get your foot in the door is a great thing here at Switch. And the fact of Switch investing in you as a person, not just your technical skills, but just you. It's enlightening because you're not just a number, you are a person here. And you are a person that they know is making a difference, not only for the bottom line in money, but in technology as a whole. Switch has been around for 26 years almost,
wow.
and we've advanced and grown while others are doing mass layoffs. We're doing mass hirings. It's a lot of things that's happening, and we're only getting bigger and better.
but we want people who are dedicated to do so as well. And if you're dedicated, I mean, you will figure some stuff out.
Awesome. Now, the last thing before we go, obviously, and we mentioned how so many times you were the only one in the room, and you are
Yes.
a triple minority. So you've been a black female LGBT woman in the room, and you've been the only one of all those so many times. But you've still not only found your place, you've made your place. So as these kids start making decisions on what they want to do after high school, even if it's not anywhere in the tech world, we just mentioned a few people that made their place in areas that they were needed. So just because you look around and don't see it doesn't mean you can't be the first and you can't be the best. All of these fields need diversity for our communities, for our culture, for our economy. And every person that has an idea can not only show that you belong there, but show you can be a leader there. So, as these kids start, when they walk in a room and may see themselves as that, what can they do to know they can overcome those obstacles?
Knowing that you're still going to make a difference. No matter what the color, no matter what the background, no matter what the gender, anything, you are there to make a difference. You are there to fulfill your passion. You are there to fulfill your goals. You are there to do a task. And as long as you come in with that mindset of a team aspect, but also knowing I am a major part of this and I'm building something bigger than myself, the color goes away. All of that goes away. It's who you are as a person. It's what's in here, not out here, not the color, not the gender. It's who you are and the capability that you have and the tools that you carry in order for you to execute that job. That's what you're there for.
Love it. Well, I know you got to get to work, and we appreciate you getting up early out there on the West Coast for us. But such a great way, as always, to end our school year. And I'll definitely see you soon. But my friend,
Of
Christa Johnson,
course.
all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys. It's a pleasure.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
See ya.